What do you think of when I say the word Suplest? Well, for me, it evokes some of the same feelings of exclusivity and boutiqueness I used to get when someone said Rafa or Speedwagon or even Pegoretti. And as a result, I had very high expectations for these shoes. So stick around and let's see if they live up to them. I have very enviously eyed Suplest shoes since the day they started hitting my social media feeds. Can't really remember when that was, but I think it was around the same time Map Apparel started hitting my feeds, and the two had partnered up for what appeared to be a co-branded road shoe. Like the clothing, the shoes I saw were minimal, elegant, and had all the right colors in all the right places. So when I found out that my old friends at Glory Cycles are the exclusive online retailer for Suplest here in the US, I sent them a note and asked if they'd help me source a pair for a review. Suplest graciously agreed, and if I'm honest, I was kind of giddy. I mean, after literally coveting these things for years, I was finally going to get my hands on or my feet in a set. Now for context, this was in early March of 2020, so you know kind of what happened after that. But still, back then, every morning for like a week, the first thing I did was open up my phone and check my email for that tracking number. That week turned into two, and around the middle of the third week, I shot the guys in Switzerland a note, and they said all shipping was on indefinite hold due to COVID. I was crushed, but I set a reminder for 90 days out, and I moved on. In the interim, as you know, our world got turned upside down, and a lot of our riding habits shifted, so I found myself riding my spd-equipped bikes more and more. So I asked the guys at Suplest if they'd be up for sending me a set of CrossCountry shoes instead of a set of road shoes. I asked them that so that I could experience the glory of Suplest on all my bikes, not just on the road. They liked that idea too. Long story short, the shipping and production restrictions were lifted, and when they arrived, I unpacked them with white gloves and took photos from every angle. They were gorgeous, and I started breaking them in the next morning on my mountain bike. The first thing I noticed was the overall stiffness of the shoe. Holy cow. The carbon soles on these rival my Sidi and Fizik road shoes, and the overall support and stiffness of the uppers was mind-bending as well. And they accomplished all this without sacrificing much in the way of comfort. The heel cup is nicely padded and has the grippy sharkskin or cat tongue fabric to keep your heel from sliding. Now, let's not breeze past that feature, because if you haven't heard about it before, I want to explain what it is. It's meaningful, especially on cross-country shoes. You see, carbon soles don't flex like a running shoe when you walk on them. That means the second your heel leaves the ground, you're turning that sole into a lever that pulls the heel of the shoe downward. And also, unlike running shoes, when you hit the backside of your pedal stroke, you're pulling up. And in a sprint or a hard climbing effort, your heel might slip out of the heel cup just a little bit. And that's where the fabric comes in. When you run your finger across it, it's smooth in one direction and abrasive in the other, just like a shark's fine scales. If you've never owned a pair of bike shoes with this stuff, you should. It's one of my favorite cycling-related inventions in the last 10 years. In addition to the near-perfect heel cup, Suplest uses the industry-standard BOA for closures, but underneath, they've placed their carbon shield layer to help evenly disperse the tension from the BOA. Suplest also employs their SUP traction rubber on the outsole, and this rubber is tuned to fit the specific application of the shoe. In this case, it's firm enough to dig into the trail after you unclip and have to hike a bike, but it's soft and grippy enough to keep you from eating it when you're walking across your garage floor. It's a nice balance, and a final nice touch is the insole. I can't tell you how many absolutely terrible insoles I've found in high-end shoes. I'm looking at you, Sidi. And these are just right. So in many respects, the Suplest Edge Plus cross-country performance shoes met my expectations, but in a few, they missed the mark, and they missed it pretty badly. First, bike shoes should not be made with just one BOA. It never works, no matter how clever you get underneath it. I was able to find the right setting, but only after the shoes broke in, and it always took a lot of fiddling with the wires to get it almost just right. And speaking of breaking in, it took a long time for these things to break in, and the part of the upper at the top of my arch was painfully uncomfortable for the first 300 miles or so, and they're still a little sharp when I just slightly over-tighten them. I think a lot of this could be remedied by adding a second BOA. And the rubber sole, which I like for a lot of other reasons, is too thick for my XTR Trail pedals. I like the extra platform of the XTR Trail version, but the Suplests do not like that extra platform. Unclipping was fine, but clipping in was like struggling with a bad ski binding. It's bearable, but I'll probably end up sanding or cutting a bit of rubber off the bottom when I have time. And here's the biggest problem. I live in a very hot, sunny climate, and these are about the most poorly ventilated shoes I've ever owned. And they're black, so they basically boil my feet like little hot dogs anytime the temperature gets above 80. If I still lived in the Bay Area or maybe Switzerland where they're made, I probably never would have noticed, but they're just too dang hot for the desert, so I'll probably reluctantly relegate them to my winter wardrobe. But I'll probably wear them every day when it cools off because they're pretty solid. And I'd say that while Suplest probably didn't intend to, they've made a road bike stiff, gravel specific shoe that can stand in the gap between your mountain bike clogs and your road bike slippers. The closest thing I can compare them to is my Shimano S-Fire mountain bike shoes, which are kind of a gold standard. If the Shimanos are a 10 out of 10 straight out of the box, then for summer riding I give the Suplests about a 7. I think the second BOA, some cooler weather, better ventilation, and a lighter color would get them up to a 9 if they continue to break in the way they have. And if so, then they'll probably be my #1 go-to 6 to 8 months out of the year. Okay, thanks for watching. Feel free to click the link below to research and buy a pair of Suplest shoes for yourself. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button before you go because there's lots of cool content on the horizon. All right, see you next time.